A very good evening once again, friends. Thank you for joining us this evening. I would like to now read the quote for today, that is January 10th. Watch your reactions to others. If you see in anyone some quality that attracts you, try to develop it in yourself. But if you see a quality that to you is displeasing, then instead of criticizing it, work to expunge it from your personality. Remember, the world will only mirror back to you what you are in yourself. And it's a very beautiful subject. I think in New Age philosophy, this one truth has come to be accepted very easily, just as is the law of karma. But of course, friends, this has been the basis of all true teachings in religion. And I think we all have heard different expressions of it, and Kriyananda ji is also presenting it very simply. And I think more practically over here. And we'll go through some points that he has made in that brief reading. But especially that last line, where he says the world mirrors to you what you are really, what you are in yourself, that is a very fascinating one. And sometimes we could feel that, oh, maybe that is philosophical. How could the world, which let's accept it, many times in our eyes, through our eyes or mind, we think of the world as quite inert. Yogananda ji starts his autobiography. Right next to his picture in the introduction is a small, line over there from the Bible. Unless ye see miracles and wonders, ye will not believe. That we look at the world and we say, oh, it's about stones and trees and some animals, but they're not connected to me. And people, why is this happening to me in my life? And like somebody said, I woke up one day with a grumpy cloud around myself and I kept meeting grumpy people at work and such, that we kind of, if we just step back once in a while, we know that the world is not actually such an inactive place. Actually, it is a beautiful place. It's a place, the saints and sages say, which is fixed on one level. It is the material world, which is quite fixed. It's not like stones keep floating around, and leaves at least move and express some resonance to your and my movement, and animals also in the same way. But I'm reminded of a question a Westerner asked Ramana Maharishi if he should convert to vegetarianism because he was coming on the spiritual path. And Ramana Maharshi gently said, if you're thinking about it seriously, it may be a good idea to become a vegetarian and consider that. And the man retorted, he said, but sir, even the plants are alive. They must be feeling pain too. And very calmly, lovingly, perhaps with understanding, even though there was some mischief, I thought, in the way the question was asked, and it immediately moved into an argument, Ramana Maharshi said, my son, so is the stone on which you are sitting. That the stones, if everything has come out of consciousness, like Einstein once said, either there is no miracle or everything is a miracle. So what is a miracle? It's a phenomena. Kriyananda ji explained very beautifully. He says a miracle is something which is waiting to be explained. That we say, oh, this happened because it was out of our day-to-day reality. And similarly, like I said, that last line, that the world will reflect back to you. Is that true? I think it is absolutely true. I'm still trying to understand a statement I heard in a video of Kriyananda ji many years ago. And he said it was Bhagavad Gita series, and he said, in the final analysis, everything that you are seeing through your eyes, he said, and the whole world is a projection of your consciousness in front of you. If this world really is a school, friends, as all religions teach us, if we have to grow, what could be better? The divine intelligence could not have made it better than to have a constant classroom right before, you might say, our awareness, our consciousness, or even our senses. So when you're sleeping, you have a dream, and people can nowadays tell you, that it's a science. Why are you getting a certain kind of dream? What does it mean? If something is happening in your life, Kriyananda ji is saying, look inside yourself. Why did you attract that? I'm reminded of a monk who was having accidents repeatedly, and He went to Yoganandaji. Yogananda, he was driving, I believe, the ashram car, which was getting into accidents each time. And Master told him, be careful. And he would say, sir, it was not my fault. And Master says, but change yourself. Be careful. And twice he told Master, he said, sir, twice I was hit by people just in the parking lot. I was not even moving. It wasn't my mistake. And Master says, change yourself. Please consider that. And Swamiji said, finally, when the monk thought there is maybe some wisdom behind what Master is saying, he realized that he was quite absent-minded. And when he changed that quality in small day-to-day things that he was doing, suddenly no more accidents were happening. And again, makes us think how much of this is linked. But again, friends, like I said, it may seem philosophical, but if we start catching it, even for one or two traits, like that friend, I read this article where somebody was saying, I was having this grumpiness around me since morning. I don't know why. He said, I woke up with it. And he said, I kept meeting grumpy people till I said, okay, I will have to get this crown of this grumpy cloud which is sitting on my head off me. And he said, the moment I did that in the second half of the day, everything worked well. So we'll all have to experiment. But let's come back to some of the things Kriyanandaji is mentioning over there, because I believe they're very important for us. Now, let's start with the more pleasant ones. Think of good childhood friends you've had, very good ones perhaps, all the way back to kindergarten, high school, college, maybe even your spouse, you're married to somebody, or you have a liking to somebody. It could be a personal liking, it could be a relationship which is entirely spiritual, like guru-disciple relationship. You love the guru, and often we have been reminded that the guru, especially let's say Yoganandaji, they come in different lifetimes, actually in a different form, physical form, different roles to play. And but so what are we really liking in them? The guru and all these other people, down to our childhood friends. If you look carefully, what do you really like? I think we could say, I like what they do. I like how they treat me. I like their behavior. And therein lies the secret. The form is in itself actually not very likable, except to the degree that the form is a depiction of consciousness and it attains sometimes a very, very high degree of beauty, even you might say. A lady once looked at Yoganandaji, who was having a meal in a restaurant by a glass window. She stopped in her tracks. She told her husband, I want to go and meet that man. He said, but do you know him? She said, no. He said, that might be quite awkward. And she said, but I just have to. I have never seen a more beautiful face. And Kriyanandaji added his own comment to that story. He said, think about it. He said, makes me think how many incarnations of good behavior, good consciousness, good thoughts, service, devotion must have gone into creating or receiving such a face as masters. Don't they also say in all spiritual traditions that God is sculpting us, the universe is sculpting us? And if it's sculpting us, then matter, which Yoganandaji taught, is nothing but frozen energy, you might say. And energy is nothing but crystallized thoughts. And thoughts are received on the basis of our level of openness, consciousness, the quest that we have. If you have a quest for strange things, how to do robbery, how to, you will become very good at it. But will it bring us the right kind of consciousness? Not at all. Right kind of thoughts, people? Not at all. So going back to those things, if you like something, and maybe, you can make a small list of this, friends, because I have found it quite helpful. I was especially touched by reading this, extract from the life of Saint Francis of Assisi. They say that, ultimately, this is said in the Gita too, the way a saint walks, talks, and, interacts says a lot about his degree of inner freedom, that they are very light on their step. And actually, Saint Francis used to pray, even on the times when he was quite by himself, he used to pray to the clouds, birds, leaves, sunshine, wind. He wrote a poem called The Canticle of Brother Sun, which he said was given to him by God just a few days before his passing. And he was so thrilled when he received it, so thrilled. He said, brothers, to his fellow monks, he says, could a pair or more of you take this canticle and go to the ends of the world, never stopping, and on a daily basis singing this to people? Such was the thrill. And Swamiji has sung this song in Italian too, and it's a very deep poem. What is happening in that poem? Saint Francis is praising nature, and what he used to do is he used to tell the wind, the clouds, you are so free. See, he was born in Kali Yuga, deep Kali Yuga. Villages were fighting against villages. There was tax to walk on a certain road. I mean, think about those things. He himself was trapped and tortured and thrown into prison for over a year, where he saw many people die. When he came out and his consciousness was open, he would acquire those qualities. He would pray to the rocks. How is it that you are so strong and firm? Can you give me that quality? And I will praise you. I will thank you. I will pray for you. And he acquired and brought those qualities out. It's like Swami Kriyanandaji once met Anandmoyi Ma. And he said, Ma, you are so good. You're so good. And Ma told him, it takes goodness to see goodness. And that should be a very encouraging point for us all. If you're seeing goodness in people, if you're not seeing it in anybody, try to make a beginning somewhere. Many people, friends, they think it is their responsibility to see the bad in others so that they can be watchdogs or something for the world, for people, for their families. I don't know. I don't think it works. Ultimately, we can't see goodness actually in ourselves, shall I say. What can be worse than that? But as you see goodness in others, tell yourself, oh, I'm trying to develop this quality in myself. Why do people get married? Many times you get married because you're not aware it's the way society is. And but I'm saying if you're conscious about it, you will see. And Kriyanandaji and Master explained that we get married or we form friendships with people because we are trying to develop those qualities. The male tendency, for example, is to think more, reason-oriented. We can be very impersonal, and unfeeling sometimes. But you look at women, on the other hand, and they are so kind. They're, jovial. They can be very soft. And Master says that in order to develop that in ourselves, and likewise, women, they see that ability to, perhaps be very firm in one's consciousness, impersonal. And as we actually progress spiritually, Swami used to say, I've seen so many times that in Ananda after years, on the path, men become more, soft and friendly and very kind, you might say, almost like motherly, tenderly. And women, they can become very firm because that is what they had to develop. It's not like one is better than the other. When the spirit comes out into creation, by God, this was God's plan, it forms one aspect or the other. That is the whole world of duality, good and bad, night and day, birth and death. So in and of themselves, none of these things are good or bad, except that they are just there. But when we finally come to the point where we say, it's not helping me, how much do reactions help you really? Not at all. They can give you hypertension, they can give you restlessness, anxiety. But when we see that, okay, maybe I'm seeing things and the very fact that I'm reacting to them. For example, what did Christ say in the Bible when they were about to stone that lady for adultery and they were up with stones in their hands. And they asked him, what would you say in this case? You preach love. And Christ said an answer which was so remarkable. He said, let him throw that first stone. Let him throw it who is without sin himself. That we are all moving in this journey. It is a very long journey. We can cut short it by controlling our reactions. When you see something which is not right in others, for example, try to, Swamiji used to say, see why is it resonating? Why is it striking such a chord in you? And try to expel it. Now, some people may say, but see, how will I change them? Now, if you have been on the path long enough, you will see, friends, you really don't change anybody in the sense of telling them how to change, or suggesting it to them, or it doesn't happen like that. How does it really, how did I change, let's say, to the degree I have? How have you changed? Think about it in your own life. It has often always been by magnetism, by example, by self-reflection, by self-offering. Yes, small changes of habits, of waking up early, brushing our teeth on time, keeping our shoes always polished, not breaking traffic rules, those kind of things we don't need much. You might say it's okay to read a booklet for that. But when you're really trying to transform your consciousness, your feelings, you need a power which is beyond yourself. That is where true change comes from. So, how do you change others? By changing yourself. Mahatma Gandhi ji, I recently bought a book about his last days. He wasn't very pleased at independence, you will know that. And now, of course, it had to happen. Maybe he was overambitious in his, expectation from people. I don't know. But he had predicted, he said it'll be very short lived. As the celebrations die down, the freedom's effect would be over, actually, he said. Though people will still be the same, what he really was saying we should accomplish is Swaraj, or changing ourselves, control ourselves. He was the one who said, be the change you wish to see in the world. Again, people try to say the world has to be this way or that. Often those are very personal projections of our desires. Enough people think that, oh, if enough of us can get together and ask for something, we will have it. What easier way? Why not do it? Except that, friends, do you really want anything in this material world, which, comes and goes? No. And least of all, wrong things. To be dharmic also, we have to be calm in our heart, to first understand if it is right for us. I remember what a big commotion reservations had made in the medical fraternity about 10, 11 years ago. I happened to be from Rajasthan state, where I was actually getting the quota. I was not deserving it because I'm from a decent family, and I went up in that protest. I was protesting against it, and I realized protesting is not so much, it's very distasteful actually when you get into the emotions of it. And just seeing everybody gathered and so emotional, I told myself I will never participate in a rally like this. But then I found a reporter, and he was not doing anything, and I told him, I said, no, I want to share. My friend said you should go and share your situation, and I said, I want to talk about against reservation. He said, but what is it that you have to say? Everybody's against it over here. I said, but I'm getting it and I don't want it. And he immediately put me on TV, and I very calmly delivered my 30-40 second message. And my friends later told me, they said, you were on TV, we saw you. That the point was, I said, it is being suggested, but I at least don't deserve it, and I'm sure there are others like me. And maybe we don't want to generalize such a situation. And what I saw was people were, when they talk about peace, Swamiji used to say, he says, they are so angry themselves. They talk about, oh, look at him, he talks so much. Well, how about you? Siblings often do that. Or Swami used to say, smokers will tell drunkards, at least I don't drink like you. And drunkards will say, well, at least I don't smoke like him. And he says, what good does it achieve? We are cancelling the effect. Whereas you're neither a smoker nor a drunkard. You are neither a gender of one kind or the other. We are, once we come on the spiritual path, Master said, we are a soul. The reactive process, as has been explained to us, is it keeps us bound in duality. Through meditation, through calming the heart by devotion, through giving up likes and dislikes, by associating with others who are calm, slowly we realize that calmness is the great, you might say, equalizer. When we are calm, when we can take others' opinions, when we can, like Deviji once mentioned that in a meditation class they were having many decades ago, somebody came up after the class and he was having an argument. He was trying to have an argument with Jyotishji, and Jyotishji would not get into the argument. And a lady was also standing in line about to ask a question whether she should take this course or not. And she came up and she said, my question has been answered. Just in seeing your calmness in front of that challenge, those emotions makes me know that you're doing something which has given you that inner strength. And that is what changes people. And that is the kind of example we want to be in our life. I want to also read over here, Swami saying that try to remove those things from your personality if you have them. Should we get rid of this personality? Absolutely. In the Raj Yoga book, Swami says you have to move from an unhealthy personality, or ego you might say, which thinks only of itself, to a personality which is more caring. But what is a personality really? Kriyanandaji defined it as the sum total of all our reactive processes and reactions in past lives. It is like a shell, and at some point it may become a very sattvic and you might say nice coat. But do you want to wear the coat? No. We are the soul which is beyond, as I said, form, energy patterns, thought patterns, and which likes to expand in nothing less than infinity. That is what Master taught. All great saints have taught that. So we want to move in that direction. And that happens when we remove that personality. So in this coming year, friends, I will certainly take a leaf out of that reading, and I hope you do too. God bless you.